explain my context here, but yes, and it's a taco. But we just got to be realistic. So let's look at Brandon Ingram.
Now, this one could be, in a sense, because there are reports that the Pelicans are willing and probably are going down a road where they're going to move him.
1 bajillion percent. And I just honestly want to first look at his salary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you live in New Orleans, which, again, surprisingly enough, is top 10. Okay. Brandon Ingram, expiring contract, $36 million next year.
I would take that as a negative, to be honest.
That it's expiring, or that he's making 36?
Negative. I mean, sorry, that he's that it's expiring.
Okay.
The risk of that.
Yes.
And maybe that's a helpful way to get him, but I also think that's a bit risky in a sense of, no certainty that he's re-signed after that. That would be,
That's the thing, is that you obviously, and I say obvious, I mean, I don't know how.
I also think that's your swing.
Right.
Right? I mean, you're getting an all-star who's still in his 20s, who scored 20 a game for the last 5 years. A little question mark about his durability, but shoots over 80% from the line, scores at every level. I mean, does a ton of positive things.
Yes, he does.
But I feel like you're then saying, and I'm assuming you're trying to do this, if you acquire him without losing Keegan, then you're kind of going, yeah, we are championship caliber with Fox, Sabonis, Keegan, and Ingram. And you might be, but that's kind of your swing.
I love Brandon Ingram.
Okay.
I love Brandon Ingram's game. He's just so damn smooth offensively.
Is there a negative in there that I'm feeling or no?
There is. I would say there's a couple things that I worry about. We'll start with number. And by the way, beyond the fact that he's an expiring and that you're giving up whatever you're giving up, which would be sizable.
Sure.
I think if you're not offering Keegan, Fox, or Sabonis in an Ingram trade,
it doesn't happen.
No, I think it could, but I think you're looking at a minimum of 2 and probably 3 first-round draft picks on top of whatever the salary match is.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I have with Brandon Ingram deals with numbers here. 64, 45, 55, 61. He just doesn't play healthy. The most games he's played in his career was this year, 64.
Yeah.
He 79 is
Since his rookie season, yeah.
59, 52, 62, 61, 55, 45, 64. You're dealing with a guy who's going to shoot about 50% from the field, which is pretty darn good for him. He's a midi type of dude, but he will knock down a 3 or 2 per game. Overall, 21 points, a little under 6 assists, 5 rebounds. He's a guy that'll get you 20, 25 a game. He's a wonderful second offensive option.
Yeah, and I think he's been in kind of the different situations where he was a growing player to probably the best player on the Pelicans to not a complimentary player. That's not the right term, but when you've got Zion and CJ and others, it's like, hey, he's a very important piece, but maybe every night he's not the most important piece. That's kind of what he would be here. There'd be certain nights if they had Ingram where he'd be their best scorer. And then other nights it's like, no, it's Fox's night. It was Keegan's. It was Sabonis, whatever. I think the fit would be good. It just, if the Kings are truly interested, and I don't know if they are, what would it take to get him?
I would end my portion of the Ingram conversation this way, though. I think when you look at the fact that he's expiring, I think when you look at the fact that, although he's just 26, the fact that he's just 26 and he can't get on the floor he misses 20 to 25 games a year. But really what bothers me is this. You're going to almost certainly, if you're holding on to Keegan, Sabonis, and Fox, you're almost certainly going to empty or at least largely empty your draft assets. I don't have a real problem with that. You're going to throw in a Barnes, a Lyles, Herter, that same group. But I've said from the beginning, the ultimate test for me is going to be, if you're making a swing like that, you mentioned it earlier, is this a championship caliber team? I don't think it is. I don't think it is with Ingram. I think you're going to get better offensively. Mm-hmm. You do not get better defensively. And you're dealing with a guy that you're giving up a lot for a chance that he stays. B, here's the other thing. Let's say best case scenario. he plays 70 games next year. He's putting up, 20, 24 points. He's in a great system. Just about everything works out. He's going to want a max deal. And now you're maxing Sabonis, Fox, and Brandon Ingram, and that's your team. And I'm not saying that's the Suns, but I'm saying that feels to me like a team that is a Western Conference Finals ceiling, which, my God, that's awesome for a team that's never makes the playoffs. But does that fit the Aaron Gordon mold? Does that fit the mold of Aaron Gordon type guy that can come in and be your defensive centerpiece? I don't think he does. But let me tell you this: if they did trade for Brandon Ingram, I wouldn't be like, oh my God.
Yeah, there are a lot of positives if they are interested. The negatives, though, are noticeable enough. Like the games played, the contract.
Yeah.
And then back to that fit part. Like, if that's your swing, it's a good one. Mm-hmm. Is that the best swing they could take?
Well, here's one. Do you guys think the better swing is for the Kings to take a better player than Fox or Sabonis?
Meaning someone that's better than either of those two? Sure, it's just how.
I would like to draft a better player than Fox and Sabonis. To take.
I feel like they're meaning trade.
For a trade? Well, yeah, but who and how?
Yeah.
That's
without, would that, okay, I don't even need to put the player out there, but let's say there is a player out there, but it costs you one of those two. Are you doing it? If we would all agree, whatever that player is, and I'll just throw Giannis out there just because. Again, terrible example because I don't think that happens. But if that costs you one or Fox or somebody, I'd be intrigued.
Yeah, if we're getting a better player.
I just don't think that's a conversation.
Right, exactly. We'll take a break. When we come back to the NFL, we talked about Jared Goff earlier. He is getting paid.